always think it looks like a shrimp. And it's just a giant, ancient, prehistoric shrimp. One of the things I was talking about the other day was the variations of repetitive shapes. I love collections of things. I just love things that are related in a way, but have little differences to them, like action figures. I used to collect action figures when I was a kid, and I used to love putting them all out on the floor and just looking at them all, and they'd all have like the same package, you know, but the package would have like a picture of whatever the character was, and then like there was the actual figure in there, and so there were all these little differences, you know, and even within those there would be like the same figure, but it would have its own slight variations that I thought was really cool. I used to collect everything. I used to collect stickers when I was really little, and then it went to Mad Magazine became the first real true collection that I really started, and I used to do the same thing where I would put them all out on the floor, and I would just look at all of the different covers. They all had the same logo, that same Mad Magazine logo, that cool font, but it was always a little different too. Not always, but they would change that up sometimes. Sometimes they had these little characters drawn in there by this really cool artist, but yeah, it would be really neat. You know, you look down and all the different kinds of artists that worked on the covers too would always be different. So you just see, and it always had Alfred E. Newman, that was the other thing. So they had these similarities throughout them all, but each one was a little different from the other one. It was, you know, just neat to see how people play off of similar themes. But I also like it because of this organic nature of things, how things are repetitive. You know, you have a whole bunch of leaves on a tree, and each leaf looks pretty much the same as the other leaf, but there are all those little variations in there. And then from there are all different kinds of trees, and all the trees, they look similar, but there's all kinds of variations in there. And the way that organic creatures grow, and there's a lot of repetitive things that are slightly different in there. You know, the way that our bodies develop, and you know, they're almost the same thing, but they're just a little bit different. And so that's kind of that's where a lot of the imagery comes from in these, where I'll start something, I'll make one sort of shape, one you know, something that looks like an organ or an organism, or a little piece of a machine, and then the next thing after that, or a plant, you know, and the next thing after it is almost the same, but it changes. I change it just a little bit. It gives it a little bit of mutation, and it becomes something totally different. And I love that idea. Those sort of seeds, but that start off the same, but then they become something completely different. Like, you know, fetuses for animals, they start off almost looking identical from up until a certain, you know, certain amount of weeks is when you can finally see that this is a dog and that's a human, and you know, this is a whatever. You know, they're just very similar, but it's just, you know, they wind up vastly different from each other. I think that's really interesting, and that's kind of how I try to make these drawings and make these paintings. Is I just try to start with this little seed of a shape, you know, whether it's a circle or just a couple of lines or a squiggle or whatever. From there, it's like the next thing kind of plays off of the first thing, and then that just grows and grows and grows. Each shape kind of reflects the one before it. Sometimes there are drastic turns, where it will go from one sort of, you know, shape and then completely something different. But I sort of chalk that up to the you know, mutations of things. You know, it's like an X-ray hits a piece of your DNA, and next thing you know, you get a third arm growing. It's like, it's pretty cool. Having a third arm would be pretty cool too.